Alright, this video we're going to configure a DHCP server on our router for VLAN 2. So before you start, you should take the access list off your router that we had in from previous weeks because we would need to modify them for DHCP to work, and we're not going to do that till the end of the lab. So basically you'd go under the interfaces and be like no IP access group in, no IP access group, the name of the list, and then in on the three interfaces it should have access control list on them. Removing them from the interface is sufficient. They still exist in the config, but they're not applied to the interface, so that's fine. So DHCP works by sending a broadcast address, a broadcast packet looking for an address, and a DHCP server on that subnet will answer. So we're going to configure our router to act as a DHCP server. So basically here are the steps to do that. We create a DHCP pool, IP DHCP pool, and then we give it a name. I'm going to call mine VLAN 2 pool. Right, and then there's the four things we need to specify when we create a DHCP. When we want DHCP, we need a network address. So for VLAN 2, that's going to be 10.1.1.0. We need the subnet mask for that. We need a DNS server. So for now, we'll put my DNS server at the end of the lab. When you have your own DNS server working, you should probably change this to be your DNS server. And we need a default router. So that's going to be the VLAN 2 sub interface. So that is a complete and functional DHCP pool. We could also put in a domain name, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to use my internal domain name that we're going to configure in a little while. So that is a complete and correct DHCP pool definition. Again, the domain name is optional, but you definitely need to have a network address, the proper subnet mask, the default router, and the DNS server if you want this stuff to work as expected. So now you can go to your VLAN 2 PC and switch it to DHCP and see if you get an address. So there we go. We got a DHCP address 10.1.0.2. The next thing we want to do is the instruction said you should exclude some addresses. So we're going to put a command in our config to exclude some addresses. That means those addresses will not be given out with DHCP. And the command for that is IP DHCP excluded addresses. And then you put the addresses you want to exclude. So in this case, I'm going to exclude from the first address, and I think the instruction said you should exclude 10 addresses. So I'm going to exclude from 1 to 10. So this is the first address you want to start with, the last address you want to exclude. So with this config item, I should get address outside of that range when I release and renew my IP. It's always interesting to me how these IP DHCP excluded addresses don't show up as part of the pool definition. That's kind of just like a weird, noteworthy thing to me. So I'm not sure why that is. So yeah, it's the same PC. So we're going to go back to the config, turn it off and on again, or switch from static to dynamic, and now we see we got a DHCP address with 10.1.0.11. So that's what we need to do to configure the router as a DHCP server for VLAN 2.